Welcome to the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. We've got a fast-paced hour of fishing, hunting, and conservation covering the nation and the Northwest, including 13 extra minutes of local content you'll only hear on Seattle's sports radio, KJR.
It's Saturday morning, and as always, I'm glad you're here. I had a really fun time last weekend fishing the Mardon Resort Annual Dock Tournament. I've never gotten to fish it before, and I'm glad I did. I grew up fishing docks at Lake Sammamish as a kid, and fishing off the docks at Mardon Resort brought back a lot of memories. About 140 anglers were there of all sorts of different age ranges, everything from kids to seniors and people in between. About an even mix of men and women. And here's how it worked. We had a potluck at 6 p.m. on Friday. At 7 o'clock, everyone went down to the docks and started fishing, and you could fish as much as you wanted to between Friday at 7 p.m. until Sunday at 10 a.m. And everyone was trying to catch the biggest fish of different species. So the biggest largemouth bass was worth nearly $400, as was the biggest carp and the biggest perch and the biggest smallmouth bass and the biggest walleye and the biggest trout, etc. About 11 different species you can catch off the docks here. And at the end, seeing who some of the winners were was a lot of fun. My favorite, Jackson Peck. 12-year-old kid, never fished this tournament before, put on a bunch of corn, threw it out there, and he was reeling in carp. He reeled in 6 over the weekend, including one that was about 20 pounds, another one that was over 16, got first and second place in the carp category, and a $528 check. Actually recorded an interview with him I was hoping to play today, but yours truly pushed the input button when I shouldn't have, and there was no audio at all. But Jackson, if you're listening, congratulations. That is awesome what you accomplished there. The biggest bass, by the way, was a largemouth, just over 4 pounds, caught by, I think his name is Chase Garza. Chase or Chance Garza. He is a 13-year-old son of Santos Garza, who is one of the best anglers out at Potholes Reservoir. He and his son Isaiah routinely cash in checks at big bass tournaments at Potholes, and you can see that the younger son is following up in the family tradition. As for me, I caught some fish, but nothing that was going to make the leaderboard. But they had a raffle at the end, and I actually won 4 rounds of golf at the local golf course there, along with a couple cart rentals. So that was pretty cool. If this sounds fun to you, well, I can tell you it's going to happen again next year at Mardon Resort, September 12th, 13th, and 14th. Don't know when they're going to start taking registrations, but you can keep tabs by going to mardonresort.com. This portion of the show was brought to you every week by your Puget Sound area Sportsman's Warehouse stores with locations in Federal Way and Puyallup and Everett and Silverdale and Sequim. And the hunt sale is going on right now. So if you need gear, firearms, ammunition, or anything else for the hunting season ahead, head on down to your local Sportsman's Warehouse store today or log on to sportsmans.com. Before we go, let me tell you about some great regional guests. One of them is going to be Eric Winther with the Northern Pikeminnow Sport Reward Fishery Program. The fishing's been great down on the Columbia River, but you're running out of time to take advantage of it. The program ends on September 30th, but there is some serious money to be made. Eric will tell you how much the leading angler is making so far and where to go fishing for pike minnow right now, in case you want to get in on the action. That'll be at the end of the show. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk to Bob Loomis with Mack's Lure. He's got advice to help you catch big fall walleye. Got time for one news story here, and the question is this. Should we talk about the river otter attack in Kitsap County or increased hunting opportunities for turkey this fall in southwest Washington? You know we've got to go with the otter attack, and it's actually pretty frightening. On September 12th, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife received a call of an incident at the Bremerton Marina. When officers got there, they found out that the victim's mother reported that a river otter had pulled her young child into the water as they were walking down the dock. The child was dragged underwater and after a few minutes resurfaced. The mother was able to lift the child out of the water while the otter continued to attack, and the mom was subsequently bit in the arm. As the family tried to leave the dock, the river otter pursued them. The child sustained scratches and bites to the top of her head, faces, and legs. The river otter was trapped by officials at the marina, killed, and it's being tested for rabies and other diseases. And with that, you are now in the know about what's hot and what's not this week in the Pacific Northwest.
That's your first local shot of the outdoors. Now let's see what's going on across the nation.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Kruse.
Welcome aboard. I hope September has been treating you as well as it's been treating me. Gone out on a couple of dove hunts to work the dog with family and friends. Been doing some fishing for bass and panfish, and this weekend I am fishing the annual Old Farts Bass Tournament at Potholes Reservoir in eastern Washington with my longtime fishing partner, Rusty Johnston. We had a pretty successful pre-fish, found a definite place to start at, and being the first boat out of the gate, I think we'll be able to get our spot and fish it for a while. We also found a few other spots that look pretty decent and a couple that we thought that were going to be good that weren't. And as Chris Johnston, that Bassmaster Elite Series angler, told me, it's just as important to eliminate non-productive water as it is to find productive water. Wish us luck. As always, we're going to need it. This week on the show, we've got some great guests for you. One of them is Alex Robinson, the editor-in-chief of Outdoor Life. He penned an article recently about a do-it-yourself mule deer hunt that he experienced in northern Utah, how he listened to a lot of podcasts to prep him for the event, and how those podcasts weren't as helpful as he thought they were going to be. It's a good story, and you're going to hear it in just a few minutes. Another guest today is also writing for Outdoor Life. That would be Dac Collins. He's been following the physical reintroduction of wolves into Colorado, and a particularly troublesome pack, the Copper Creek pack, that has been preying on sheep and other livestock in Grand County. Ranchers wanted permission to lethally remove the animal. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife had other ideas and decided to trap them with the idea of relocating them. And there's more to the story than that. Dac will share that one with you towards the end of the show. In between, we've got a really fun story for you. It's from an organization called Wish of a Lifetime. Now, it's not like Make-A-Wish, which grants wishes for kids suffering from terminal or very serious illnesses. No, Wish of a Lifetime is for senior citizens. You have to be 65 or older, maybe battling something, and you're looking to fulfill a lifelong dream. Well, one person who's been fighting a battle with blood cancer and who lost his wife recently is Gerald Gibson. And Gerald loves bass fishing. He fishes local tournaments in New York. He's an officer for a local bass club. And his wish was to fish with none other than Mike Iocanelli. And he got to go to New Jersey this month and do just that. So we'll tell you about that fishing trip. We'll tell you more about Gerald, who sounds like he's a great guy. And then we're going to talk to the CEO of the Wish of a Lifetime Foundation, Tom Wagenlander. This organization is actually affiliated with AARP, which makes sense in terms of granting wishes for seniors. And it's not just fishing trips that they grant all sorts of really interesting wishes. You'll definitely want to hear this in the middle of our show today. By the way, this portion of the show is brought to you every week by Henry Repeating Arms. That's a company I love because they make all of their firearms right here in the U.S. of A. They're very well known for their lever action rifles, and they got some beautiful ones too. Check out the Golden Boy and the Tribute editions. But they're not just good looking, they're very functional too. They've got classic calibers, they've got newer calibers, and they've even branched out into shotguns and revolvers and a 9mm carbine, the Homesteader. You can check out the entire product line at henryusa.com and check out these rifles that are known as rugged and reliable and accurate right out of the box that come with a lifetime satisfaction guarantee. The website again, henryusa.com. Find an authorized dealer near you, and don't forget to ask for your free decals and catalog while you're there. Turning to outdoors news in the world of bass fishing, everybody knows about the top 25 AP and coaches poll for NCAA football. But did you know they also have university rankings for the 25 best colleges when it comes to tournament bass fishing? It's true, and it changes as the bass tournament season goes on. Let's go ahead and give you some of those top 25, starting at number 25, well-known university with a great bass fishing program, Murray State out of Kentucky. Texas A&M, they got a good football team, but they've got a good bass fishing team too at number 24. Bouncing up to 21, you've got Auburn University. Number 18, Louisiana State University out of Shreveport. Clarkson University out of Potsdam, New York comes in at 16. Missouri State University in Springfield's number 15. Heading up to the top 10, Adrian College out of Michigan's number 10. Number 9, Campbellsville University out of Kentucky. 8, McKendree University out of Lebanon, Illinois. Bethel University, another well-known bass fishing program, out of McKenzie, Tennessee, is at number 7. University of Montevideo in Alabama is number 6. Southwest Michigan College is number 5. Carson Newman University out of Jefferson City, Tennessee is number 4. Number 3 is the University of North Alabama. Number 2, Lander University out of Greenwood, South Carolina. And the number 1 ranked bass fishing team at the collegiate level so far this year is Emmanuel University out of Franklin Springs, Georgia. If you want to follow the collegiate series, just go to collegiatebasschampionship.com. That's collegiatebasschampionship.com. Meanwhile, if you're looking to move up yourself in the world of tournament bass fishing, the National Professional Fishing League is accepting applications for the 2025 season beginning October 1st. Anglers who wish to be part of the 130 angler field should go to the nationalprofessionalfishingleague.com and fill out an application. The application process ends October 31st. According to league president Brad Fuller, the NPFL offers a platform for all anglers to prove their skill and dedication at the highest level, regardless of their background. We're committed to providing a fair and competitive environment. We look forward to assembling a diverse and talented field of 130 anglers. There's going to be 6 regular season tournaments in 2025, along with the 2025 NPFL Championship, spread across half a dozen states and occurring spring, summer, and fall. And something important to note here, the NPFL is the tournament organization that has eliminated forward-facing sonar from both practice and competition for 2025 and beyond. Competition for a berth in the 130 angler field is going to be fierce, but if you think you've got what it takes, go ahead and submit your application today. The website again, the nationalprofessionalfishingleague.com. Finally, I've got a fishing story to share with you. I was fishing a dock tournament last weekend and was fishing next to a really nice lady named Jerry Quillen. She was going after crappie using a little crappie jig on a very light rod, and she hooked into a big carp. As a matter of fact, I was able to net it for her after a very long fight, and we took it to the scales. It weighed 14.5 pounds. Believe it or not, that was not one of the winning fish for this dock competition. There was at least 2 other carp that were bigger than this one. But a 14.5 pound carp, while it may be big, pales in comparison to the fish which was just caught in Hungary by Polish angler Kasper Stepien. As reported by Outdoor Life, Stepien and some friends were fishing for several days at Euro Aqua, a private lake in Hungary. On September 16th, Stepien was fishing a dough ball when he caught a 104.5 pound common carp, which would easily break the current IGFA all-tackle world record should it be accepted by the organization. Posting on Facebook, the angler explained that his only goal that trip was to catch his personal best carp. He'd always imagined catching a world record common carp at the lake, but didn't think it was likely. Cold weather and strong winds made fishing difficult during the first few days, but he and his pals stuck with it and landed more than 100 carp by the week's end. A dozen of those fish weighed over 66 pounds, which is really impressive, but none surpassed the 104.5 pound carp that he caught and released at Euro Aqua. On paper, this carp easily surpasses the current IGFA all-tackle world record for carp of 75 pounds, 11 ounces, caught in France in 1987. It's unclear whether Stepien is going to submit this fish as a potential record to the IGFA. The main reason is because it was caught in a small private lake. And although the IGFA will consider record entries for fish caught in some private water bodies, they do not accept applications for, quoting here, fish caught in hatchery waters, sanctuaries, or small bodies of water that are stocked with fish for commercial purposes. And it looks like Euro Aqua could definitely fit into that category. It might not be a record fish, but it sure is the biggest carp any of us have ever heard of, that's for sure. Stick around. Alex Robinson, editor-in-chief for Outdoor Life, is on deck, waiting to tell his tale of his northern Utah mule deer hunt.
I'm Anthony Imperato, president of Henry Repeating Arms. Patriotic Americans are looking to protect and provide for their families now more than ever. Henry has over 200 rifles and shotguns to choose from. Made in America or not made at all. And backed by a lifetime guarantee. Order a free catalog, decals, and a list of Henry dealers in your area. Go to henryusa.com or call 1-800-958-4993. Thank you and God bless America.
John Kruse here, looking to improve your bottom line as a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts. You can do so for a very cost-effective price by advertising on America Outdoors Radio. I will tailor a marketing campaign for you, reaching hundreds of thousands of listeners every weekend, tuning into our show on 135 stations in 33 states. We've got a sponsor opening right now, so contact me through my website at americaoutdoorsradio.com, and let's talk about helping you.
This is the Rolling Knife Sharpener by WorkSharp. Designed to make sharpening fast, easy, and work every time. Snap to your angle, select your abrasive, and make sharp happen. Sharpen your kitchen knives, large and small, Japanese knives, and even pocket knives. The magnetic angle base secures a wide range of knives at 4 set angles. 3 premium abrasives deliver fast sharpening and exceptional results. The tri-axle drive system allows you to follow the curve of your longest blade. And the soft touch grip ensures comfort and safety during the entire sharpening process. Add confidence to your cuts. Make sharp happen.
backcountryhunters.org. Join the fight for our public lands and waters today.
Come to Mardon Resort for some great fishing. Potholes Reservoir has been named as one of the top 10 bass lakes in the western U.S. by Bassmaster Magazine. There's also great fishing for walleye, quality rainbow trout, panfish, catfish, and more. Don't have a boat? Don't worry. If you're staying at the resort, you can fish at the marina or explore the Seep Lake south of the reservoir for good fishing and a beautiful scenic landscape. Plan your trip today by going to mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com.
This year, resolve to immerse yourself into the great outdoors. Whether you're learning to hunt, fish, hike, camp, paddle, or grill, or are looking to take yourself to the next level, the place to go for the gear you need is Sportsman's Warehouse. With over 145 stores around the nation, Sportsman's Warehouse is truly America's premier outfitter. Find a store near you or shop online anytime at sportsmans.com. That's sportsmans.com for Sportsman's Warehouse.
Northwest Oregon's Tillamook Coast is not only the place to go for cheese and ice cream, but also for outdoors fun. Hook into a salmon in Tillamook Bay or one of the rivers flowing into it. Harvest tasty clams from our bays and pull up a crab reen or pot full of big, Dungeness crab. Visit our parks, walk the beaches, explore our forests, and enjoy our coastal communities. You are going to love it here. Plan your trip today at tillamookcoast.com. That's tillamookcoast.com.
Explore the Dalles, the hub where discovery and history come together. Whether the Northwest is your home or you're on an adventure, the Dalles welcomes you. Just 80 miles east of Portland is the perfect year-round escape with a community that cares about you. 300 days of sun, breathtaking outdoor recreation, and a downtown full of the unexpected. Oh, and the rich history that began before the Oregon Trail. Start planning at explorethedalles.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We got Alex Robinson on the line. He is the editor-in-chief for Outdoor Life, and he wrote an article that you can find in the hunting section at outdoorlife.com about a DIY Western hunt in Utah that didn't go quite as planned. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I guess we'll start off not with the hunt itself, but the lead up to the hunt. A lot of folks these days will listen to podcasts, and there's a lot of podcasts out there focused on do-it-yourself hunts in the western U.S. What are some of the things that you found were useful? And then we'll talk about some of the things that were not so useful. We'll start off with what helped from these podcasts.
Well, I think in general, just the fact that there's a lot of information out there. if you are trying to find a podcast on anything, pretty much anything in the world these days, you can find one that is specific to your interests. So I was actually on a mule deer hunt. So if you wanted to listen to a bunch of specific podcasts about DIY mule deer hunting in the West, you can find all types of information on that, which is great. I think one of the kind of issues with that is for a lot of hunters who are traveling to the West, like myself, I'm from Minnesota. So a lot of folks like us from the Midwest or the East or the South traveling to the West, all these podcasts about Western hunting tend to give a little bit of a rosy picture of what that experience is going to be like. A lot of their guests are real experts who have real knowledge of specific areas and specific animals. And while their information is really good, not all of that is going to be super useful to someone from Minnesota or Pennsylvania or Florida who's traveling out west and hunting an area on their own for the first time.
One thing you point out in the article is, again, listening to these podcasts and hearing these experts, they make it sound easy, but the fact of the matter is, in a lot of units, success rates are really low, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So my hunt was a mule deer hunt in northern Utah. It was a general season archery hunt, and the success rate for that unit was 4%.
Wow.
So that's residents and non-residents, right? So the vast majority of us are not going to be shooting a deer on that hunt. But then even, look at Colorado, which is a really popular state for out-of-state elk hunters, a lot of great elk hunting. They have the biggest elk herd in the country. Their overall average success rate for all the units was 16% in 2023. So that's folks hunting private land mixed in there. That's folks hunting with outfitters mixed in there. So even there, relatively low success rate. And it's not that fun to talk about low odds of success in podcasts or YouTube videos where, you're trying to get folks excited and get them motivated to get out and do this stuff. And, we all love hunting, so we want to have positive outlooks on it. But sometimes you need a little bit of a reality check with some of these numbers.
Something else you'd point out, especially for archery hunters who are hunting, when the weather's still good, is that you're dealing not just with hunting pressure at these public lands, but with partying pressure as well. Explain that.
Yeah. So a lot of Western lands have many recreational uses on them going on all at once. And that's especially true in September when the weather's nice. There's a lot of folks out there hiking, biking, riding four-wheelers, horseback riding, all that stuff. And it's all great. But what the traveling hunter needs to understand is that even if you're going to some, remote national forests or planning to try to access a wilderness area, there's going to be a lot of other people recreating on that public land along with you. And it might not be this idea that you have in your head of this totally remote and quiet wilderness where you never see another soul. In reality, a lot of Western hunting isn't really like that. It's a little more similar actually to hunting around the Midwest or South, where you have other people out there in the woods with you, and you have to figure out how to hunt around them.
Well, I know one old adage that I've always is hike further away, get away from the roads, go further in. But you point out that simply hiking further doesn't necessarily help.
Yeah, it's still good advice, but it's not a silver bullet anymore. And one of the reasons is because it's an old adage, right? So everyone's heard that before.
Right.
2, now we all have very good navigational tools in the form of digital GPS mapping apps. So we can use Onyx, tools like Onyx, to navigate into places where before a newbie, like a new hunter in the area, would never get back to some of these places. Like you just wouldn't have the confidence to be able to go to hike into a wilderness area so far back in rough terrain that you'd never been to before. But now you can, plot your approach all the way in there, track your way in, track your way out. You can cover ground in the dark. There's very few secret spots anymore with the popularization of digital mapping apps. So everyone can kind of see the same thing now in digital scouting. And you can bet that if you are motivated enough to walk into a place, that there's someone else is too. And a lot of these folks have horses, they've got e-bikes, they might be locals who are in really good shape and have hunted this place for decades and they know how to get in there. So just the idea that you can outwalk everyone and get farther, deeper in than anyone, that kind of doesn't exist in a lot of places anymore.
Gotcha. Well, we got about 2 minutes left for you to tell the story of your northern Utah archery hunt for a mule deer.
Okay, well, it started out really good. Even with all the people all around us, riding four-wheelers and dirt bikes and all that stuff, we still saw some nice bucks before the season started. And then on the opening day, my buddy and I got within bow range of a really nice buck, or at least in my eyes, a really nice buck, and got to full draw. And he just didn't quite step into a shooting lane. He's kind of in the timber and a little bit nervous, kind of knew we were there, and he never stepped into a shooting lane. So I never did shoot. And after that, we spent the rest of the time trying to find another mature buck, decent buck, and just never could. Just spent days and days glassing and hiking and trying to relocate that deer or another buck like him. And really all we saw were other hunters and other folks out enjoying the same public land that we were hunting. So, I can't complain, though. That's kind of all you can hope for is one good chance on a DIY hunt like this, and you either take advantage of it or you don't. And that's kind of what you have to go in expecting. You might get one good chance. I didn't happen to capitalize on it, but hopefully maybe the next time I go out there, I will.
Well, I'll be wishing you luck and hoping for a better outcome for the next hunt article that you write. In the meantime, folks, again, if you want to check out more details about this DIY Western hunt that Alex went on, just go to outdoorlife.com, go down to the hunting page, and find out some of the pitfalls of listening to podcasters. Again, really good article, covers a lot of ground. Alex, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Hey, thank you.
Ready to step up to a quality-built rifle or shotgun that's a true classic? Check out Henry Repeating Arms, American-made. There's over 200 models to choose from in a variety of finishes and calibers for hunters and target shooters. Many of these are lever-action models with a look right out of the Old West. Don't be deceived, though. Henry Repeating Arms are modern, rugged, accurate, reliable, and have a lifetime guarantee. Find out more and order a free catalog today at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com.
Campers, adventure seekers, hunters, and foodies. No matter the lifestyle, we can all agree on one thing. Great food and great people are worth remembering. At Camp Chef, we don't just make grills. We create each product knowing that a warm meal is always better when it's shared with those we love. Learn more about Camp Chef grills, smokers, and portable cooking equipment at campchef.com. That's campchef.com for a better way to cook outdoors.
Come explore the Dalles in Oregon for outdoors fun. Hike amongst the wildflowers, bike our riverfront trail, or visit the Gorge Discovery Center where you can enjoy a live raptor display, or even check out our National Neon Sign Museum. But don't forget the fishing. We've got salmon, steelhead, bass, walleye, and monster-sized sturgeon waiting just for you. When the day is done, tell those tall tales at one of our wineries, breweries, or restaurants and plan your next adventure. Find out more at explorethedalles.com.
Ready for more local fishing and hunting? You got it. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio, KJR.
It's that time again. It's time for another extended Mack's Minute from Mack's Lure. And with us again, Bob Loomis. Bob, you showing up here.
Yeah. Hey, I can't believe you keep inviting me.
Let's talk fall walleye. This is both a great time of year to go after them, especially in lakes, because the water's cooling, the feed bag's on, and a difficult time of year on places like the Columbia River where there's just so many shad smolt that it's really hard to get the walleye to bite. What would you suggest for either scenario?
Well, at this time of the year, John, as you stated, fish are starting to put on the feed bag. They're starting to chase a little bit more, move a little bit more. The water's starting to cool a little bit. And going to larger profiles is the ticket. And my number one go-to, even though it was designed because of the fact of the flotation that it has to float up, above weeds, things of that nature, the Wally Pop, being a larger profile lure, is my number one go-to for this time of the year.
The Wally Pop has been in the lineup for a long time, and I've also had some very good success with it, particularly in the fall, now that you mention it. That was my go-to when I first started fishing for walleye, was the Wally Pop, and I remember having really good success during that October time frame. Let's talk about colors that you like to use.
Colors, there again, you get back into where you're fishing. What is the main forage base in that system, whether it's a lake, whether it's in a river, wherever. And understanding what they are feeding on is one of the number one things that you can do. And with the Wally Pops, we've got a lot of forage-based colors. You start using, golds and oranges and your different chartreuse and orange, looking like crawdads or sculpin or something that they are feeding on at that given time.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. Break out some Wally Pops and go fishing for walleye this fall. I think you're going to be very pleased by the results. Look for them at quality sporting goods stores or online anytime at maxlure.com.
You want kokanee this summer? Well, reach into your tackle box and pull out a Pee-wee Wiggle Hoochie from Mack's Lure. This unique lure has a crankbait bill that creates a lot of movement, and it's designed with high UV and glow squid bodies, and it works fantastic in summer and early fall when the water temps are warm and the fish are looking for more movement and speed from a lure. Look for the Pee-wee Wiggle Hoochie at sporting goods stores or online at maxlure.com.
You're back in with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We've got a really neat story for you here. We've got Gerald Gibson on the line. He's from New York, and he got a chance to go fishing with Mike Iocanelli, that very well-known and wonderful and loud and flamboyant bass fisherman that we've seen on television for years now. Gerald, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
So, Gerald, I understand this all happened because your son nominated you for a wish, and the organization that made this wish come true is called Wish of a Lifetime. Tell me a little bit about why you wanted to fish with Mike Iocanelli.
Well, Mike is close by. I've known about Mike since he broke onto the scene 20-plus years ago, and he's turned out to be a good fisherman.
Yes, he has. He definitely has. I have not had the pleasure of meeting him myself, but I'm glad you did. Now, you love bass fishing, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Understand?
My brother-in-law got me hooked into it 43 years ago.
And you actually compete in tournaments?
Yes, I do.
And I understand you also run a bass fishing club up in New York, too.
Yes, I do.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm the secretary-treasurer of the club.
So how many tournaments do you fish a year?
Right now, probably about 8 or 9.
That's about 4 more than I fish, and I bet you probably do better than I do, too.
We've had a pretty good year. We just got to finish up the last 2 tournaments, strong, and then we've got a chance at winning the club MVP.
Well, I hope you do.
Yeah, so we're close. We're separated by a couple points, but we need to crush them the next 2 tournaments.
So, question for you: your club, how big is it in terms of when you have a tournament? How many boats show up?
That's an interesting question. Originally, when we have held tournaments, we would have, between 60 and 80 boats show up, and we'd all go fish.
Right.
But this year, so weather hasn't cooperated, other tournaments going on, the number has dropped. We're down to like 50 boats, and we like having the 80 boat range all the time.
Well, sure. Better payouts that way and more competition. I get that. Now, as much as you love bass fishing, you've been going through a real battle the last few years. I understand in March of 2022, you were diagnosed with aggressive blood cancer, and you also lost your wife recently, too. So how is that battle going with the blood cancer?
Well, I've been in remission for the last 8 months, and then at the end of July, I had a battery of tests done, and they informed me that it came back. So I'm actually at Memorial Sloan Kettering right now. We're getting ready to start the treatment program again and see if we can knock it out. I beat it once, I'm going to beat it again.
Darn tootin'. Well, I'll be praying for you, and I have no doubt a lot of our listeners will too. So the Wish of a Lifetime Foundation granted your wish and set up a trip for you to go fishing with Mike Iocanelli in New Jersey. Tell me about that trip.
I had a great time. I mean, they flew me down to Philadelphia. I got a rental car, drove to a hotel. Next morning, I had to drive to the launch site to meet Mike. And, you know, it was so weird not being to back a boat in. It was weird not to get tackle ready. He had it all done. He backed the boat in. I mean, it was just great. And then we went out and spent a whole day literally out on the water. And we were fishing the Delaware River, and that's tidal water. And I was impressed by the way that water down here drops. It drops like almost 8 foot.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. And where I come from, the Hudson River, that only drops 3, maybe 4 feet.
That's all right. How was the fishing?
The fishing was slow, but Mike had told me in the beginning, he says, if you catch a 3.5, 3 3/4 pound fish, you've got the lunker for the day. And what happens? I catch that fish.
Outstanding.
On a white chatterbait.
It's nice to see chatterbaits work over there, too.
Oh, yeah. They work everywhere.
Well, Gerald, this is a great story, and what a treat to go fishing with a person you've been following for years, and what a flamboyant and interesting person to fish with as well. And folks, if you want to find out more, we're going to tell you more about Wish of a Lifetime in just a minute, but check out the website now, wishofalifetime.org. Gerald, keep up the good fight. We'll be praying for you, and look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Now that you've heard Gerald's incredible fishing story, let's talk to the man behind the Wish of a Lifetime Foundation that's helping making this happen. That would be Tom Wagenlander. He's the executive director of Wish of a Lifetime. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So Wish of a Lifetime is actually associated with AARP, isn't it?
It is. We became an official charitable affiliate of AARP in 2020, but have been around since 2008, granting lifelong wishes to older adults.
Well, I think it's wonderful what you're doing here. You know, everyone's heard of Make-A-Wish Foundation for kids. I've never heard of Wish of a Lifetime for seniors, though. So I understand you're granting wishes for people that are 65 years and older. Is that right?
That is correct. And what we've seen is that as our society ages, for many individuals, they lose a sense of purpose and often passion in their lives due to just realities of aging. And so we're here to just encourage individuals to take advantage of their older years and make sure they're feeling fulfilled as they age.
Well, you've granted some really interesting wishes over the years. You had one person got to meet the Rolling Stones. That would have been pretty cool. You had somebody return to Grand Canyon National Park. A couple go to Niagara Falls. Person went to their very first writer's retreat. Someone got to go on a whale watching adventure. So there's a whole myriad of wishes that are granted. How does this work? How does a senior citizen go ahead and submit a wish and hopefully have it come true?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the wish process is pretty intentioned in that we're really looking to grant wishes for individuals who have been dealing with a tremendous obstacle or challenge in their life, or just could use an experiential experience to brighten their days and age with a sense of hope and joy. So we do have a pretty significant process in terms of assessing wishes, but as you mentioned, anyone over the age of 65 is eligible. There's a couple ways that you can submit an application. You can go online and submit on our form digitally. You can reach out to us, and we're happy to send an application. Many of the wishes come to us from nominators, family members of these individuals, or perhaps it's someone who works in the senior living community they live in. And the key to all these wishes is that there's just a meaning behind the experience. And as you can imagine, with individuals who have sometimes live 9, 10 decades, the wishes can be really personal and unique. So there's a great diversity to the wish experiences as well.
Now, there are some limitations on the wishes granted. For example, maybe it's your lifelong dream to go to a New York Yankees baseball game, like one of the person who had their wishes come true. But you can't ask for season tickets. You can't ask for loans or to have your mortgage paid off. And you can't ask for things that can harm you. So I'm guessing skydiving's probably out, isn't it?
Well, actually, believe it or not, skydiving is one of the wishes we tend to grant. But, we're very careful with those precautions. Those other examples you gave, really speak to our intention to be experiential based. This is something an individual can look forward to, they can really enjoy in the moment, and then they can look back upon with a sense of purpose and joy and accomplishment. I mean, that's key too. But when you talk about skydiving wishes, I think our record age is 98 for skydiving. Obviously, there's some liability concerns and things we have to take care of on that front. But if you got a dream and you qualify, we're definitely game for looking into it.
You also have a couple of programs. One of them, as a veteran myself, this one stands out to me, your Voyage of Valor. Tell me about this.
Yes, so that's one of the most meaningful experiences we grant. Started way back in, I believe, 2010. We've been sending older adult veterans and a companion to Washington, D.C. together as a group. And we really love the group dynamic here where you have vets engaging with one another for a 4-day trip to Washington. I believe now we've probably sent close to 300 vets to Washington on these trips. And it's a great time to obviously see the memorials and monuments built in their honor, but also to connect with each other and perhaps most inspiringly with younger generations who are often at these memorials and monuments. We try and create intergen experiences so veterans can really feel that sense of appreciation and get a real sense of their accomplishments, their sacrifices from the general public. So we are just thrilled we're able to do this and appreciate the service of our veterans like everyone, including yourself.
Well, Tom, what you're doing is absolutely wonderful. And folks, if you want to find out more about Wish of a Lifetime, just go to wishofalifetime.org. That's the website, wishofalifetime.org. You could submit a wish for yourself or for somebody that you love that's over 65. And you can check out some of the wish stories that have come true. There's over 2,700 of them that have come true. Check out the programs and events too. And if you feel compelled to do so, please consider donating to Wish of a Lifetime too. Tom, thanks for what you do, and thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Sportsman's Cove Lodge is Alaska's best lodge, and as you know, I'm a big fan. I've been to Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska several times. I love the float plane ride in. I love the fishing for halibut, salmon, and cod, and I can't get enough of the fantastic food and dynamite hospitality that they offer at the lodge. Now they are building new accommodations, new rooms that'll have television. They've brought Wi-Fi to the lodge too, and they're even offering extended 7-day stays with not just fishing, but other adventures too, as well as the opportunity to have a corporate retreat. Find out more about Sportsman's Cove Lodge and book your stay today at alaskasbestlodge.com. That's alaskasbestlodge.com, and use the promo code RADIO10. That's Radio 10. Let me repeat that one more time. That's alaskasbestlodge.com and the promo code RADIO10 for 10% off your next adventure.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you could get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare, and that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare, and that's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied, too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth. They love the huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price in 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Kruse. We've got Dac Collins on the line. He's the news editor for Outdoor Life. He lives in Colorado, and he has been following the reintroduction of wolves into the Centennial State. It's been a very strange journey indeed. Dac, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. It's good to be here.
So, Dac, a couple of years ago, voters went to the ballot box and they decided to basically reintroduce wolves into Colorado. This despite the fact that wolves were actually naturally starting to reoccur into the state from Wyoming. What's happened since then?
Man, a lot has happened since then. You know, just to pick up where you left off there, I mean, pretty soon after we realized that wolves were coming, into Colorado from Wyoming, this is kind of as we were talking about this reintroduction happening, as the state was figuring out its plan, the depredations had kind of already begun. So the community that was most vocally opposed to the reintroduction and is being most affected by this is, obviously the ranching community, livestock producers. And so, to say that it kind of started off controversially would be an understatement. I mean, there was already some really strong feelings around this as they were, rounding up the wolves in Oregon and preparing them to release them here. I think people are already pointing to, their concerns about bringing them into the state, which is that, Colorado's a beef state. They're going to impact livestock. There's maybe not as much wild land here as there is in some other big western states where there's large wolf populations. So, yeah, I mean, to kind of briefly run through it, December and January were when the 10 wolves were released. We're now down to 7. There's a lot that's happened since then, but 3 of those wolves have died. One was actually in Larimer County, where I live in Fort Collins. This is a very big county, but, in a more rural part of that county, this was in May. One of the wolves died. They believe it was a mountain lion that killed it. And then the other 2 were more recent. One was when it died just after the state decided to relocate a pack of wolves. And then another one, the caller sent out a mortality signal earlier this week. So, a lot has happened. If you're looking at the livestock side, there's been, over 40 confirmed depredations. This is livestock either killed or injured. And this is according to, the list that Colorado Parks and Wildlife updates. So, yeah, there's been a lot of controversy from the beginning, and it's just kind of continued as the wolves have made their way around the landscape and, kind of dispersed from there.
Well, it's really interesting to me. Again, 10 wolves were transported from Oregon to Colorado, and one of the packs is the Copper Creek pack. And you wrote an article that's in Outdoor Life. I suspect you're going to be writing a follow-up as well about this pack, which has really made the news because of livestock depredations. Why don't you go ahead and tell us more about what the Copper Creek pack has done?
So the Copper Creek pack, they got that name this spring. This is a male and a female wolf who, at some point in between when they were, dropped in the state, sometime during the spring, they found a den, reproduced. They had 3 or 4 pups. At this time, the male was pretty regularly. There's one ranch in particular. I'm not going to name any names here or specifics, but there's one ranch in particular in Grand County that has sort of received the brunt of this, and really one wolf. I mean, I don't have a really in-depth understanding of wolf biology, but I understand that the mother would be with the pups in the den, and this would be a male sort of basically out to hunt on his own as a solo wolf, which is, as we know, not how they typically do things. So yeah, this wolf started and continued to prey on livestock, cattle, and sheep in Grand County. And as it kind of went in bursts, I know there was some in April. And then once we got into June, July, there was another kind of burst of activity from this one particular wolf. And I should say, we know this is an interesting thing to study because most of these wolves have been collared, and we were able to kind of see where they go in the state and with a watershed map. So we have a pretty good understanding of where these wolves are, what they're doing. And it was obvious that this wolf was killing a lot of livestock. the Middle Park Stock Growers Association, a lot of ranchers were getting together and, requesting a chronic depredation permit. To back up a little bit, one of the, obviously the biggest controversy was again between livestock producers and wolves. And from the start, they wanted an option to lethally remove to kill wolves that are killing a lot of livestock. Colorado Parks and Wildlife opened the door to that by, changing some laws around, and they were established as a what the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service calls a 10J population. So all that to say, Colorado Parks and Wildlife had the ability and the power to issue this chronic depredation permit to the ranchers who were really being affected by this one particular pack. Again, this is the Copper Creek pack because they had pups. This is the first named wolf pack in the state since they were extirpated in the 1940s. So all this kind of coming to a head, the depredations are continuing. The ranchers are asking for permission to kill this one wolf, and the state makes a decision to deny that permit at least once. I'm not sure the exact history between them and the Stock Growers Association, but they denied the permit. About a month later is when I saw the announcement that they were going to relocate this pack. So that to me was a very newsworthy thing because in the reintroduction plan that Colorado Parks and Wildlife put out, that wasn't really specifically something that I didn't think they were going to be doing, was relocating wolves that were, in a sense, chronically depredating. Again, another issue here is that, the state does not have an exact definition to that. They're taking it on a case-by-case basis. So going back to the Copper Creek pack, the state decided to not to issue this depredation permit. And the understanding here is that they were in a bit of a bind, right? I mean, their mandate is to sort of help bring about a sustainable population of wolves. And we're looking at the only two wolves that reproduce also happen to be the ones that are causing the most trouble. So Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the alternative they came up with, instead of issuing a chronic depredation permit or taking care of the wolves themselves, they decided that they would relocate them. And that happened. That was successful. They caught 6 wolves in total. That would be the male, adult female, and their 4 pups. And that was successful. I think they announced that would have been earlier this month. Let's see, September. Yeah, maybe earlier this week. That was successful. The male wolf died. This male had some injuries in his hind leg that they were unable to address in time, and the wolf died. So at this point, all that we know is that the female and the 4 pups are somewhere in a secure enclosure, and that's where the Copper Creek wolf pack will remain, at least for the foreseeable future. There's talk about releasing the pups at some point in the future, but I think that this is all kind of developing as we kind of see what happens and see what the state decides to do with these wolves.
So the male wolf, was it killed because of injuries in the trap it was caught in, or did it have a previous injury?
That's a really good question because that's the first thing my mind went to. From my understanding, Colorado Parks and Wildlife used, foothold traps. They made it pretty clear in their announcement that the injury was not related to the capture. So, they kind of, I think, expected it to be a tricky proposition. Catching wolves is not easy, obviously. But yeah, from what they told everybody, it was not related to the capture. I'll also just say, just to put a lot of my reporting in context, that more than anything, I talk a lot with state agencies, and it is really hard to get exact detailed answers from Colorado Parks and Wildlife about wolves right now. They're remaining tight-lipped in a lot of different ways. So I know what the state has sort of announced, but yeah, that's kind of my understanding of what happened with the male there and what happened with the rest of that pack.
Well, let's hope that Colorado Parks and Wildlife becomes a little bit more transparent in their dealings with the media. And I'll be interesting to see how this relocation is going to work. I understand it was the male wolf that was doing most of the depredation, but we're talking about a pack of wolves here that has become accustomed to eating lamb and beef. And is relocation really going to work or not? I guess that might be the focus of a future article for you.
I think so. It's something I'm going to continue to look into, and as it develops, I mean, we're already looking at this coming winter, and we're looking at a situation where the state has a mandate to introduce more wolves this winter, but they do not have a source. So there's a lot of moving parts here, beyond just the Copper Creek pack in terms of like what the future of wolves in Colorado looks like and how they can continue to walk a really fine line in terms of wildlife management today.
Yeah, wildlife management by voter initiative. Not the best way to do things, that's for sure. You can find out more about wolves in Colorado by going to outdoorlife.com. Just look for articles by Dac Collins. He is all over this issue. Dac, thanks for the update today on America Outdoors Radio. By the way, this portion of the show is brought to you by our friends at WorkSharp. That's the company out of Ashland, Oregon that makes fantastic knife and tool sharpeners that you can use in the shop, in the kitchen, or in the field. You'll find WorkSharp products in quality sporting goods stores like Sportsman's Warehouse, Cabela's, Bass Pro, Scheels, and more. And you can check out their entire lineup to include the brand new folding knife sharpener at worksharptools.com. Website again, worksharptools.com. You don't want your knives or tools to be dull, so use WorkSharp to keep them sharp. On that note, it's time to wrap things up. If you didn't get a chance to hear the show, we'll be uploading it as a podcast in a few days. You can also check out past episodes too. Just look for America Outdoors Radio. And if you want to hear the extended Pacific Northwest version of our show that airs exclusively on Seattle Sports Radio KJR 93.3 every Saturday morning between 7 and 8 a.m., go to YouTube and look for the Cove Sportsman's Network. That's a YouTube channel operated by Sportsman's Cove Lodge, and they carry this show every week. Until next time, here's hoping that you are blessed and that you're healthy and that you get to spend some time in nature. After all, it is your country and you're outdoors, so get out there and enjoy it.
A seafood bounty is waiting for you on Northwest Oregon's Tillamook Coast. Catch a limit of big salmon, haul up a pot of delicious crab. Plan your visit today at tillamookcoast.com.
Don't leave yet. We've got one more local shot of fishing and hunting to wrap up the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio.
Next up, we've got Eric Winther on the line with the Northern Pikeminnow Sport Reward Fishery Program. This is the program where you go fishing on portions of the Columbia and Snake River. You catch pike minnow, turn them in, and you make money doing so. You're also helping out our salmon and steelhead smolt that otherwise might be eaten by these fish. Eric, welcome back to the show.
Hey, John. Happy to be here, as always.
We are on the home stretch. The program ends for the year on September 30th, but my, oh my, the fishing's been very good recently, hasn't it?
Yes, there's been some great fishing in the area, basically below, well, I was going to say below Bonneville Dam, but technically it's above and below kind of that Bonneville pool on down. Yeah, some awesome catches for anglers late season here.
So let's start off with Stevenson. How many fish are anglers catching there each day?
So last week, the average catch per angler was 86.5, and it's just a handful of anglers. So there's only a few guys, including our top two anglers the last couple of years. They've really been, they just switched over there within the last week or two. So there's a bunch of fish to be caught, definitely.
And below Bonneville Dam, there's a couple hot spots too.
Yeah, especially the lower river down at the downstream end, Cathlamet and Willow Grove are having some excellent fishing. And if you look at Washougal, good grief, that's going to be most likely going to be our top station for the year. Washougal's never been the top station, but they're only, I think 60-some fish off of the Dalles with 2.5 weeks to go. So probably a record for them, too.
And overall, the fishing's been very good this year, especially during this late season.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where I'm pretty happy about it because it's probably our best year in the last 5 years or so. And so it finally feels like we're finally past the kind of that COVID hangover sort of thing. And this is a first year we're going to have that's kind of above average, going back to the early 90s when we started this thing.
Well, folks, there's definitely money to be made fishing for pike minnow. The number 20 angler has made $17,000 so far. The top angler has made $130,000 and counting over just the last 4 months, and we're heading into the 5th month now. So if you want to find out more about catching pike minnow, making money, and helping out our salmon and steelhead, go to pikeminnow.org. That's the website to go to, pikeminnow.org. Thanks as always, Eric.
That's all for this week, but don't worry. We'll do it all again next Saturday morning from 7 to 8, right here on Seattle's Sports Radio, KJR.